Hi, welcome back to MS Excel 2013 tutorial, video 4. In this video, we're going to have a look at fixed referencing, what fixed referencing is and how we use it. Right, let's have a look. If I type in the number 1 over here, and I move to 2 cells to the right, and I'm going to put in a formula here, equals that cell, and enter, I get a value, as you can see there. Because what we're saying here is cell number D4 is equal to B4. So now I'm going to copy this formula down, and I'm going to use my autofill button. So let's have a look what's happened here now. As you can see, I've typed in my formula is equal to B4, and it's given me a value there. So let's have a look over here at the cell D5. As you can see, D5 is referencing to B5. So as I go down, B6, so you can see it's keeping it relative to the line that it's in. So as I move the formula down and increment it by one cell, it'll automatically do the same thing in the column on the left hand side. Copy them to the right, the cell. Let's have a look at this. As you can see, it's now changing the column, it's keeping it relative. So as you can see here, equal to C4, C4, equal to D4, D4. So that's where the 1 comes from, because it's taken from the D4 cell. So how do we stop this from happening? Well, we need to convert the cell references to absolute references. In other words, we don't want it to change line by line or column by column when we use autofill. We want it to reference to a specific column. Okay, let's have a look now when I copy it to the left. I select the cell, autofill, drag it to the left, and I can carry on doing that, and I come up with reference errors. The reason for the reference error is because if we have a look, find it's B4, A4, and suddenly in B it cannot find a column. The reason for this is because there is no column to the left of A. Okay, let's have a look how this is going to work with formulas. So first of all, I'm going to work here from column A, cell 10, and I'm going to type in a couple of 5 numbers on the way down. Yeah, I'll use autofill. So as you can see now, I've got a couple of numbers in the cells. I'm going to go and add auto sum to this. I'm going to add auto sum to the formula. Notice it's automatically selected all the cells. The reason for this is because there are values within the cell. If there were no values, it wouldn't have added cells automatically. Push enter, and there's my value, 600. I'm going to change this to yellow so that you can see it. Now let's have a look what happens when I start dragging down. Oh wow, suddenly the numbers have started adding onto themselves, because what we've done here is we've told it now to go and sum all these numbers together, and that's what it's doing each time it moves one cell down. It's going to sum that number, then it's going to sum the next number and the next number, as you can see there. So this will become a real problem when we are working within formulas. And as I said, the only way to overcome this is by using an absolute reference. Now let's have a look. What is an absolute reference? Right, let's have a look what happens to the formula when I drag it across the columns. Let's just clean this up a bit. I'm just going to remove these zeros here. And let's carry on. Notice no values have been added. The reason being is because there are no numbers within these columns, because as we've dragged the formula across, we've dragged it across the columns. So it's looking at the value in each column, there is no value, and it moves the to the next one. So as we can see, if I select the last one here in E16, have a look at the formula. It's telling me it's going to add together E10 through to E15. So as you can see, once again, the cell references have automatically changed to in relative to either the row or the column that they're in. So to fix the problem that we've got here regarding the relative reference, what we do is we go in, as I said, and change it over to an absolute reference. To do that, we need to use the dollar sign. Now the dollar sign is going to be added in front of one of the references, either the column or the cell or both. As I add the dollar sign, it's automatically going to change to a absolute reference. Okay, so let's have a look how we fix this problem by changing it from a relative reference to an absolute reference. Well, first of all, I open up my solve formula, put my cursor where I want to put the dollar sign, put the dollar sign in from my keyboard, and enter. Notice how it's added the $A4. By putting the dollar sign in front of cell reference A, this is going to fix the columns. Let's have a look. If I drag down now on the rows, notice once again it's automatically used the relative reference there. Now if I move across on the columns, no matter how far I move it, each one of these cells will still say A4, as you can see. Right, I put the dollar sign in front of the 4 and enter, and let's try it dragging down. Let's first clean up a bit again, just delete those. Right, so drag down, and as you can see, nothing's happened. Drag across, nothing's happened. I'm going to put a 1 into that cell. Notice how automatically it's now filled up. Notice it's keeping my reference. So no matter which value I put into there now, all the cells will have that value. There is a faster way to add the dollar signs. Instead of having to go and type them in to our cell reference over there, we can use the F4 on our keyboard. Notice when I push F4 without having my cursor in place, it automatically puts the dollar sign in front of the A. I can undo that. If I now put it in front of the A and I push F4, automatically it's gone and given me dollar signs in both references there. Right, so let's go back here to the yellow cell and have a look at the formula. As you can see, we've got sum A10 to A15. That's going to add up those columns for me. So let's see what happens when we put in a absolute reference. F4 to put in the first absolute reference, F4 to put in the second one, and enter. If I drag to the right now, notice it's adding still those 5 cells together that we referenced, A10 to A15. No matter which cell I select here, it's automatically still referencing to that those reference cells.
Right, let's have a look how we can use fixed referencing within a spreadsheet. Looking at the spreadsheet here, you'll see that I am setting it up to pay out commission for sales that the salespeople have made. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to enter a formula to work out the total price. That's pretty easy. Equals quantity multiplied by unit price, and enter. Okay. Watch what happens when I pull the autofill handle down. It fills up for me, and you can see it's worked out exactly what the total price is. If I double click on it, you can see it's referenced now on the same line to the left. So here we're using a relative reference, and it doesn't make any difference. Let's move over to the actual commission payable. And as you can see here, we've got an individual commission rate because they get commission for all their sales is at the same percentage. So what happens now, I'm going to go in and put a formula. How do we do that? Is equal to total price multiplied by commission, and enter. At this moment in time, it's showing 0. The reason is because we've got no commission rate added. So let's go in and add a commission rate, 10%. And as you can see now, it is showing my commission payable 100 Rand, which is correct. So if I now go in and I auto-fill the formula all the way down to the bottom, look what happens. By rights, it should have worked out for me. But the fact that I'm using a single cell over here is where the problem comes in. Why? Because of the fact of relative referencing. If I double click on a second cell over here, you can see it's referenced to the left, total price, multiplied by the commission rate, which, because it's on the same row, as you can see there, in other words, it's relative in that row, it now moves down from I5 to I6. If I click on I7, G7, it's the same thing, I7. And that is what's happening here. So what's happening as you're going down, staying relative to that row, and it's picking up the information which is in the I column. Unfortunately, this does not help us when we want to do something like this with a spreadsheet. So how do we overcome the problem? Well, we modify the actual formula, as you can see over here. I'm going to make it a fixed reference now. Right, so how do we overcome this problem that we've got here? Well, we're going to change the cell reference I5, we're going to make it a fixed reference. To do that, I put my mouse cursor in front of the I, and I push F4. As you can see, it's put the dollar signs in, enter, and now we can see that it's got our formula in there with the fixed reference. I now drag down, just check at the bottom, and there you can see it's still referencing back to that cell. Escape, border around there, if you can notice that cell. Put in a value now, 10% equals, and now I can start playing around with the different commission rates to see what each person is going to earn if the commission rate was changed. Okay, let's just do a bit of formatting here. We're going to reuse this a bit later, so we're going to format this to rands so that we can see our rand value. And there we have it. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to go back to your Excel spreadsheet and go in, fill in the various formulas, and after you filled in the formulas, change it over from a relative reference to a fixed reference. You've come to the end of this video. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.